Alright, so I'm making another tier list. Now, my previous tier list was for Rolex watches. This one is for all watch brands. Now, I need to make a couple things clear before we start. I promise we'll jump right in. But number one, this is my opinion. This is my very cursory and uneducated opinion. I don't know everything about these brands, all the nuances and achievements and accomplishments with all of them. It's just my opinion. Deal with it. Which leads me to number two, which is you are going to disagree with a lot of these, selections. I'm sorry, that's the way it's going to be. Make your own tier list. I'm going to leave the link to this tier list in the description of this video so you can make one yourself. I implore anybody, any YouTuber or anyone out there, I implore you to do this. It would not be stealing it from me. It would not be copying my content. I encourage you to do it because it's fun if we all do one, and see who thinks what and yada yada. So please do it. It's in the description. So we're gonna jump in. Alpina, perfect example. I don't know much about Alpina. They're a middle of the road sort of mid-tier brand, nothing special, but entry-level luxury type of thing. I need to save room in the higher tiers for other brands, so I'm gonna put Alpina in D. All right, AP. A lot of people are gonna want to put AP in S, but I don't respect AP enough to put them in S. Now, they've done a couple things that kind of pissed me off recently. I hated that Black Panther watch. I hate that. The fact that they did a collaboration with Marvel. I mean, luxury watches and children's comic books, come on, it's corny, cheesy, and the watch itself is like kind of ugly. Like, yeah, it's cool, there's a lot of cool watchmaking involved, but yeah, corny watch, cringy, didn't like it. And I hear that, the Royal Oaks themselves, they have problems, they're kind of delicate. And that's pretty much it with AP. They're a very unidimensional brand. It's the Royal Oak and the Royal Oak Offshore, that's about it. So I'm putting AP in A. Alright, the Apple Watch, I'm just gonna go ahead and put that into F. Arnold & Son. I don't know much about Arnold & Son, apart from Tim Masso covering a watch on his shows sometimes. I'll put them in C. I think they're highly finished and great watches. They don't have the gravitas of a lot of these other brands. Ball. One of the only American watch brands, great history and all that. You should check out Teddy Baldassarre's videos about Ball watches. I think they were really cool. I respect Ball, but in the hierarchy of luxury watches, they're a D. I'm sorry. Same with Baume Mercier. Middle of the road, mid-tier watch, Swatch Group type of thing, D. Same with Bell & Ross. I mean, I'm close to putting Bell & Ross in F because I really don't like that brand. I think the watches are ugly and, they're one of those brands that tries to hype up their history, their non-existent history, making vague references to historical events and military instruments and things like that. So, not a huge fan of Bell & Ross. Breitling. Breitling I'm going to put in A, all right? Great brand, under-respected today. They had sort of a weird period in the noughties, from 2000 to like 2014, 15, when that new CEO took over and they started, making more reasonable watches. But they had a pretty ugly period there for sure, and that kind of knocked them down from their status. In fact, you know what? I think A is a little too good for Breitling. I'm sorry. I think they're climbing, but they're not there yet. I think they're in B. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Breguet. Breguet is an underrated brand. I love the Breguet Marine. Great watches from Breguet. Underappreciated, underrespected. They're going in A. Blancpain, I'm going to put them in B next to Breitling. Yeah, Bremont. I'm going to put them in F. I think they're all marketing. It's all branding and not a fan at all. Really don't like them. I think their watches are overpriced. Yeah, they go in F. Bulgari. Bulgari is an interesting brand. Growing up in Manhattan, I would see that word Bulgari every now and then. And I always associated it with women's fashion and jewelry. But then when I got into watches, I started seeing some really cool watches from them. I'm gonna put them in B. Yeah, B. Bulova or Bulova. Same sort of thing. I would put them in D, but the thing is, at least Bulova has history, It's also an American brand, but I think it's a tier above Ball. So I'm going to put Bulova in C. Now, let me just interject here for a second. You might notice that Arnold & Son watches is next to Bulova, and Bulova watches are, what, $200-300? But Arnold & Son is tens of thousands of dollars. This has nothing to do with price. It's about the respect that I give the brand. Do I give it S class, 100% respect, or do I give it F which is no respect. You know, I don't give the Apple Watch any respect, and I don't give Bremont any respect. You know, D, Alpina Ball, Baume Mercier, I give them a little bit of respect just for making decent looking watches or whatever. But you know, that's what happens here when you get in C class Bulova and Arnold and Sons, just to be clear. All right. Cartier. I love Cartier. I think one day I'm gonna own a Cartier, probably a tank. I've always liked the tank. I'm not a fan of square watches in general, but I think Cartier makes some beautiful watches. They're gonna go in A. Casio. Casio's gonna go in S. Amazing brand, amazing watches. You know, for the price, what you can get for 20 bucks from Casio is just unbeatable. Casio gets all my respect, S class. Chopard. I don't know, I think Chopard is gonna go in C. They have like the LUC Chopard line. Those are really nice, and I respect those watches, but you know. Now, Citizen, I think, makes great watches, and I think on a serious budget, you can get some cool stuff from Citizen. But I just don't like him that much. I'm gonna put him in B. Yeah, I'm happy with that. De Bethune, Tim Masso's darling watch brand. You know, Watchbox acquired De Bethune recently. I don't know if that made the rounds, but yeah, Watchbox owns a majority stake in De Bethune. Now, does that explain why Tim Masso has been hyping them up for so long? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he does like the brand, but he really does hype up those watches on his show. But I think they are really cool watches. They're innovative, and you can't get a watch anywhere else like De Bethune. You know, they're very unique. So I'm gonna put them in A. FP Journe, similar sort of thing. Beautiful watches. I love FP Journe. A class. A class for sure. Yeah, Frank Mueller. If this was 2003, maybe they'd go up in the B or the C class, but they're gonna go in F. I'm sorry. Not relevant today. Ugly watches. Just tacky, you know, tacky watches. G-Shock, awesome brand. They're going up in S as well, next to Casio. Now, I could have combined them, but you know. Glashutte, or Glashutte, however you pronounce it. You know, good watches. You should check out Marc Goldberg's review of a Glashutte dive watch recently. It's a cool watch. I think they're a little overpriced, and I would never buy one. You know, I would never buy one. I think they're gonna go in B. Girard-Perregaux. C. Just my gut feeling. C class. Grand Seiko. You know, I almost want to put them in S because I think they're just so unique, but A class. A class. We're gonna save S for the real superstars. Grand Seiko is amazing. A for amazing. Hamilton. I love Hamilton. I have a special place in my heart for Hamilton. American brand. It was my first watch. You know, when I first got into watches, I just jumped onto Joma Shop and picked out a watch that I liked. Just boom, I bought it within one day. Just scrolling through Joma Shop, and it was the Hamilton Khaki Fields Automatic, 38mm. Amazing watch. I still love it today. It sits next to my Rolex, no problem. So Hamilton's going in A for me. I know, a lot of people are going to disagree with this, but like I said, this is my tier list for how I think of these watch brands, you know? Hublot, not a fan, although I can't put them in F. I can't do it because there are some watches that are okay. I mean, I made a video about Hublot and I went through all their watches. I'm gonna put them in D. I'm gonna put them in D. IWC, they've kind of fallen from grace. They used to be much more relevant, but today they're doing some cool things. I'll put them in B. Jacob & Co. Now, probably the most expensive brand on this list, and a brand that I really don't like. It's going in D. I think, you know what? No, we'll put them in C, fine, because there's some seriously cool watchmaking going on there. Very unique, of course. We'll put it in C, fine. JLC. You know, there are some days where I think, man, I should buy a JLC. I should buy that Master Control chronograph. Beautiful watches. You know, they've got those watches, and they've got the Reverso, and that's about it, you know? No, JLC is a great brand. They make sports watches. They make a lot of cool watches. I'm gonna put JLC in A. Yeah, I think they deserve it. Junghans. I owned a Junghans chronoscope, and I sold it, you know, within a month or two. It was a cool watch, but it just wasn't what I was looking for. I'll put them in C. Lange, putting them straight into A. Beautiful watches. Laurent Ferrier, again, a brand that I don't really know much about other than Tim Masso's coverage of them occasionally on his show. So I'm gonna put them in C. you know, I don't know about them. Like Arnold & Son, I just, they're not on my radar. They're too expensive and not my style, but I respect them, so C. Longines. I think Longines are doing some better stuff today, for sure. A lot of it is that sort of reintroducing old stuff, you know, drawing from their past. I think they're struggling. I don't respect them that much. I'm gonna put them in C. I think you can do better for the money. Maybe not. Look, Longines is a great brand. You know, for mid-tier watches, they're great, but you know, that's where they belong. C, in my opinion. Maurice Lacroix, I think they're in D. Sort of just in my mind, I think of them as like a rip-off brand, you know? Now that may not be true, but that's where they are in my mind. Montblanc. You know, I can't really give Montblanc a whole lot of respect because they make like other stuff like pens and all this crap. So, you know, it's like Gucci or Louis Vuitton making watches. Like, you know, they make watches because they have to. Now, it's different. Montblanc does have some interesting watches, but nothing special. Just kind of, if a friend of mine bought a Montblanc watch, I would be annoyed at him. I'd be like, dude, you could have spent your money way better than that. So I'm gonna put them in D. Moser, another darling of Tim Masso. I'm gonna put them in B. You know, I'll never forget, Bruce Williams did a review of a Moser one time, and he talked about the finishing and how it was kind of disappointing. And I was shocked because you would think for that kind of money and the hype that people like Tim Masso give it, I was expecting the finishing to be out of this world. I don't know, that could have been a mistake, that could have been a one-off, but yeah, I kind of lost respect for them that day. All right, NOMOS. Again, one of those brands that I think tries a little too hard. I don't know, that's just my impression. I'm gonna put NOMOS in C. Maybe in 20 or 30 years when they have a little bit of history, they'll be a better brand, but you know, they're kind of young for me to give them anything higher than a C. Omega. I've owned 2 Omegas, well, 3. I owned a 3rd Omega for one day. You know, it's Omega. What is there to say? I mean, not a fan of the special editions, and you know, I think they do a lot of corny stuff. I'm gonna link an Austin Daniels video that really swayed my opinion on Omega. You know, he went through their website and looked at all their corny Speedmasters, and I think still with the Moonwatch, I have to put Omega in A. You know, I was gonna put it in B, but it's above IWC and Blancpain and Breitling. You know, it's in A. Oris. I love Oris. Personally, I think Oris is the best, you know, $2,000 you can spend. Instead of buying a NOMOS or a Montblanc or, you know, Bell & Ross, buy an Oris, okay? Independent brand. They make really cool watches, original designs. I had the Diver 65 for a couple months, and I actually really missed that watch. Almost every week I'm on eBay looking at Diver 65s to buy, so I'm putting Oris in A. I like it that much. Panerai, they've made a lot of mistakes, this and that. I'm gonna put them in B. Parmigiani, another brand that I don't really know besides Tim Masso covering them. And that guy WatchArtSci, he's a great channel. I like his channel a lot on YouTube, but you know, he likes Parmigiani, and all I know about them is from him and some vague references here and there. I'm gonna put Parmigiani in C. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. I'm sure they probably belong in B or even A. You know, that's my impression of Parmigiani. Now, Patek Philippe, going to go ahead and put them in S class. What is there to say? It's Patek. I mean, it's number 1. It's at the top. In fact, I'm going to put them over here in S class. Piaget. You know, I once asked a coworker, he's a working class guy. He's not into this luxury stuff at all, but he does like things and toys and watches. When I told him I was into watches, you know, he knew a little bit about watches, and I asked him once, I was like, Jamie, what if you could get any watch, what would you get? And he said Piaget. He didn't know the name of the model, but he said it was some Piaget watch. That's the watch that he wanted. So for some reason I have a soft spot in my heart for Piaget, and they make some really cool stuff. That Altiplano, that extremely thin watch, super cool. So they're gonna go in A. Rado, you know, middle of the road. It's Rado. I mean, what else? What is there to say? I'm gonna put them in C. Resence. Resence are cool watches. I feel like they're kind of a one-trick pony though, you know? C. Richard Mille. I do not like Richard Mille. I think they're way overhyped and overpriced. But, you know, they're extremely relevant today, so I kind of have to give them a little bit of respect. So begrudgingly, I'll put them in B. Roger Dubuis. Not a fan, don't really know much about them. I think the Roger Dubuis heyday was, you know, some years ago. These days, I think it's a D. I'm not even going to spend any time on Rolex. I'm just going to put them straight into, yeah, they're number 1. Sorry, Patek. Seiko, again, also S-Class. I mean, great watches, great history, you know, great brand. Zinn. I like Zinn. I really like Zinn. I think one day I want to own a Zinn. I like the U50. I really like that watch, and I was close to buying it one day. There was a day where I had my finger on the trigger for the U50, but I can't put them in A. Can't put them with Omega and stuff. I'll put them in B. Tag Heuer. I don't know where to put Tag Heuer. I think they get more hate than they deserve. I'm gonna put them in C. Yeah, put them in C. Timex. I love Timex. I bought my brother a Timex. You got the Timex Q. That's a cool watch. I'm gonna put them in A. Great history and all that. Yeah, Timex is in A. I'm happy with that. Tissot. You know, I kind of group Tissot with Hamilton, but I like Hamilton more and I respect Hamilton more. But Tissot's a great mid-tier watch, you know, for somebody like an entry-level watch, for somebody who's buying their first watch. Great brand, but I gotta put them under Hamilton, so I'm gonna put them in B. Tudor, obviously not Rolex, but Tudor's probably my second favorite brand. Yeah, I'm gonna put Tudor in A. I would put them in S, honestly, if it weren't for the fact that I can't put Rolex and Tudor in the same class, but I like Tudor that much. I think Tudor should be in S, just based on what they offer. All right, Ulysse Nardin. You know, I don't like him that much. I don't like the brand. I'm gonna put him in D. Yeah. Vacheron. Now, a lot of people are gonna want me to put Vacheron in S, you know, with Patek Philippe and all that, but I think they're closer to A. So that's where they're gonna go. And last but not least is Zenith. Another brand I really respect and I think doesn't get the respect it deserves, but I love Zenith. I think, again, one day I'm gonna own a Zenith. I'm gonna put Zenith in A. Yeah. All right, there we go. That's my list. You are gonna disagree with a few of them, I have no doubt. So comment below, let me know what you think. Argue with me, fight with me, whatever you wanna do. But I'm sticking to this, and you can make your own tier list. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. All right, peace out.